Okay, so next we have number 19. And the problem goes as follows. There's a person, I think his name is Jerry, and he's at 0 on the number line. And then he flips a coin. So if he gets heads, he'll go +1, and if he gets tails, he'll go -1. And it's asking, if he does this 8 times, what's the probability that he will eventually reach 4 at some point?
Within the first 8 moves.
Within the first 8 moves, yeah. So, well, how many ways can he even reach 4? Can he? Well, he has to take at least 4 moves, right? That's the first step. So he can reach it in 4 moves. That's the best possible scenario, is if he just goes heads each time. Can he reach it in 5 moves? Well, if you try it for some time, you'll see that you can't seem to find the solution. And the reason is, well, I mean, if he goes 5 times, right, it means he's either adding 1 or subtracting 1 5 times. So that's going to give you an odd number, right? So there's no way that can be equal to 4. So we can't make it in 5 moves. But you can do it in 6 moves, right? For example, you could go like this, so +1, +1, +1, -1, +1, +1. That's 6 moves. And similarly, you can't do it in 7 because that's odd, but you can do it in 8 moves. So there are 3 cases to check. Either he gets there after 4 moves, 6 moves, or 8 moves. So let's start with 4 moves. There's only one way he can do this, right, is if he just gets heads each time. So the probability of this is happening is just 1/2 to the power of 4, which is 1/16. Now 6 moves is a little bit trickier because he can do some extra things, but basically he needs to get 5 heads and 1 tail, right?
Does it include the first 4 moves? Case?
Well, let's see what happens. So let's see what happens if we just arrange these 5 heads and 1 tails in any way, right? There are 6 ways to do this. Let's 6 choose 1. So we have 6 over 2 to the 6, which is equal to
3/32.
3/32. Okay. And then for 8 moves, he has to get 6 heads and 2 tails. Right, so for this one, the probability is going to be 8 choose 2 over 2 to the 8, and that's equal to,
The number is 28.
so 7/64, right? Now we add them. Let's see, we get this 4/64 plus 6/64, it's 10/64, plus 7/64 gives you 17/64. And it's asking you for the sum of the numerator and the denominator. So if you add them, you get 81. And then you go to the test booklet and you circle 81, and then, oops, 81 is not an answer choice.
You are lucky.
Yeah.
So I did this during the test. So I got 81. I looked at the booklet. I took a deep breath because I realized how lucky I was. So then I went back and decided to figure out what was wrong. And then it turns out, if you look at the 6 moves case, right? For 5 heads and 1 tail, what happens if he went heads, 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 tails, right? So this is actually counted already in the first case, because he just got to 4 in 4 moves.
And you stay, right?
And
You
then
don't move
then
anymore.
we're done. We don't even need to
Yeah.
look at what happens
Yeah.
next. So this case is being counted twice. It's being counted here and here. So, okay, so this is wrong. So this should be 5 heads,
1 has 1 tail.
1 tail, except how many?
There's no 5 heads in a row.
We can
Right.
have a first 4.
So the first 4 cannot all be heads.
Right.
Right? So one of the first 4 needs to be a tail. So the tail's going to either go first, second, third, or fourth. So there are 4 ways for this. So this is 4 over 2 to the 6, also 1/16.
So you're doing, I was thinking about doing subtraction, actually. You
Oh,
use
is it-
whatever you have and then
Mhm.
just subtract you only have 2 bad moves, right?
Right.
For each tail, heads. and
Yeah, that's
tail,
also a good
right?
way. Yeah. So subtract from what we had before, which was 6 over 2 to the 6, right? Subtract 2 of the 6.
We had 3/32, right?
Right, that came from 6/64. So, okay. Well, we were still not done though, because 8 moves has the same problem, right? We have to make sure that we don't get to 4 in 6 moves. So we should actually, out of these 8 choose 2 ways, right? If there is a way to get to 4 in 6 moves, that's not good, right? So in other words, so we have 6 H's and then 2 tails, right? And we want to not get there in the first 6 moves. So that means that the first 6 moves should not be 5 heads and 1 tail, right?
It should not be 6 heads either. 6 heads is, yeah, 6 heads also, it's bad.
Yeah. So that means that we need to take away how many of these? Let's see. Well, what happens? So either we have 6 heads at the start. That's one case, right? Or we have 5 heads and 1 tail in the start. So there are 6 ways to have 5 heads and 1 tail in the first 6. And then for the remaining 2, there will be 1 head left and 1 tail left. So they can go in either order.
Can you write down all those cases more carefully so we can track them?
Yeah. Actually, can I go back a little bit, because I was initially going to do like the second wrong method is where you forget the 6 head case.
Okay.
So
yeah.
should I do that, or
What do you want to do?
like I did this in the test as well, as I forgot the 6 head, so I just took away 5 heads 1 tail case instead of taking away the 6 head case as well.
Sure, just go ahead.
Right now.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the next wrong thing is you realize that it's not 6 heads you need to take away. You need to take away 4 heads.
Yeah, 4 heads in the
Right?
start.
There's the
Yeah.
4 heads in this. So
I think you can redo, but I think what's more important is you write
is
down
I write them all
the
clearly.
cases, you write it
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
So otherwise people have no idea what are you taking out.
Okay.
Okay, you
Actually,
write
I
down
think
those
yeah, I think
carefully.
you're right. I will go with 6 heads. You just don't want to do too
Yeah,
many.
even for the 6 moves, you write down clearly what are the things you take
So,
out, where these 4 come
You
from.
can just say that the first 2 tails must appear in the first 6 moves.
So where should I go back to?
8 moves.
You say
Yeah,
you
so
have to
it's-
fix any moves.
Yeah, but this time you write it very, very clearly. What are the things you are taking out?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, so we have to fix the 8 move thing too, though, because it's not just 6 moves that has this problem, right? So what happens if we get to 4 in 6 moves? That's the thing we have to be careful about. So for 8 moves, we have 6 heads and 2 tails. And the bad cases are if we have 5 heads and 1 tail out of the first 6, and then plus like 1 head, 1 tail, right? So that's bad. And then the other bad one is if we have 6 heads and then plus the 2 tails. There's only one way to do this case, right? And then for this case, let's see. To have 5 heads and 1 tail at the start, there are 6 choose 1 ways to do this. So that's 6. And then for 1 head, 1 tail afterwards, that can be done in either order, 6 times 2. And this is just one way. So that's 13 things, 13 bad moves that we need to take away. So we had 28 originally. If we take away 13, we're left with 15. So this is h is 2 minus 13 over 2 to the 8, which is 15 over 256.
So you add them up again.
Okay, let's add them up again. So this is 16 over 256, 16 over 256, 15 over 256. That's a grand total of 47 over 256. And then we add these two up and we get 303.
3.
And, well, 293 is an answer choice, 313 is an answer choice, but not 303, which is right in between them. So we got lucky again. Well, what went wrong this time?
So when you do the 8 move, is it possible that you already got you had like 4 tails at first, so you already got 4 in 4 moves?
So that's where we went wrong, right? Because our 6 moves case is definitely fine. But our 8 moves case, that's where the sketchy thing happened. Because we said, you can't get there in 6 moves, but you could also get there in 4 moves, right? So we have to completely redo the 8 move case. Okay, let's see.
So my question is this: can you actually take out all the 6 moves that included the 4 moves. Would that be better? Go back to your original answer. Would that work? The first time you had a wrong answer, you said 6 moves.
Yeah.
You have an answer, right? Can you use 8 moves to subtract that? Because that includes 4 moves.
So I think the problem with that was, so we had, let me write this back down. Right, so out of the first 6, we said we have to have 5 heads, 1 tail, right?
Mm.
But the problem is there are some bad cases where you could have 4 heads and 2 tails, if the first 4 are all heads. So we have to account for more cases than just what was there previously.
I see.
Right, so, okay, so let's go back and look at this again. So, we need to not reach there in 4 moves and not reach there in 6 moves. So that means that, okay, so that means if there's only 1 tail here, right? If this is like heads and tails or tails and heads, that means that we have 5 heads, 1 tail out of the first 6. That's not good because we've already reached 4.
Yeah.
And then if we have
Tail.
tail here, the first guys have to all be 6 heads. That's also bad. So that means we are forced to have the last 2 be heads, right? So we have the first 6 and then we have heads, heads. And then out of the first 6, now we have 4 heads and 2 tails. And all of those cases are okay, except for the 4 heads are all first. Because if the 4 heads are all first, we have H, 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 and then T, 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 T. Or sorry, T, T, H, H. That's bad because the first 4 heads already get us to 4. So we need to, so we have 6, choose 2. Right?
-1.
-1 for that one bad case. Okay, so this is wrong. 6, choose 2 minus 1. That is 14. So we have 14 over 2 to the 8. And then this gives us
7 over 128.
yeah, 7 over 128. And now we add everything up. And let's hope that we can mess up this time. So we get, this is 8 over 128, 8 over 128, and 7 over 128. And adding all of these up gives us a total of
23 over.
23 over 128. Then we add these and we get 151. And we look at the booklet and we see that's B.
Finally.
And then we decide that we spent too much time on this problem and mark down B and then move on. And luckily B is correct. So actually AM2 is really, really nice to me for this problem because I could have gotten it wrong like 3 times before getting the right answer. So if this is on the Amy, that would have been pretty bad. Right? But the key is to make sure that we don't miss the overlapping cases, right? Because when we took writing 4 moves, writing 6 moves, writing 8 moves is probably not the best way to do this problem.
Yeah.
Because what we really should be writing is you reach in the first 4, you reach in the first 6 and not in the first 4, right? So that's the key, and not the first 4.
You should say you reach there for the first time in 6 moves.
Yes, for the first time, and not in 4 moves. And then for 8 moves, we should also write and not 6, and not 4. And if you write that, then you won't confuse yourself, and it'll be much clearer how to proceed with this problem. Okay.